All right, welcome to day number 4. And I first want to start off with complimenting you guys for your vulnerability yesterday with the limiting beliefs and the truths that you guys are fleshing out. I'm genuinely blown away by and humbled by your willingness to let some of those insecurities out for the world to see, because in my own experience, there's not many people that are willing to do that, coupled with the fact that it really gets me excited because when you do things like that, essentially what you're doing is you're diffusing the shame and the ability for that to hold you down because you're letting it out in the air. And a lot of times just being willing to say it out in the air or get it out in the open is really all you need to be able to start the journey of overcoming that limiting belief. So way to go, guys. Way to be vulnerable and risk and put yourself out there and let those limiting beliefs just be exposed for what they are, a lie, and to latch onto the truth that you need to be believing for you to really step into your identity. Now, today, we're not going to reinvent the wheel by any means. Today, we're going to be talking about personality tests. And I think that there are pros and cons of taking personality tests. And we're going to get into those. But and I'm also going to, just so that you know, at the end of the video, I'm going to add some links to a free test or a free version of any of these tests that I'll be referring to today. You can use those, or you can, search for more robust paid for results or options that you can explore if you want to. That's totally up to you. I just wanted to make sure that you had a resource that you could connect with after talking about each one of these. But just in general, before we dive into the ones that I'm going to recommend or talk about, personality tests in general, what are the pros? Let's start with the pros. The pros are, it's a step in understanding yourself to a greater degree. Angela, you love personality tests. Yeah, that's actually exactly right. You stole one of my points, Angela, is that a lot of times it can begin to put words to how you feel. And it goes in that same vein of when you get clarity and you get understanding, that actually is the thing that gives you the ability to be empowered and feel powerful and proactive in the way that you make decisions. So you're spot on with that point. It's a greater degree of self-awareness. And at least in my own life and with the people that I work with on a regular basis, gaining that self-awareness is really the goal, is because when you have that, you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and you're able to construct a life that God has intended you for, and you get to be proactive and lean into that rather than be reactive and not really understand why you're doing what you're doing. So let's look at some of the reasons why it's good for that self-awareness and specifically in the personality tests. Let's say that for one, I'm trying to think of a scenario to throw out for you. Let's do environments, okay? When you take personality tests, you actually begin to understand what kind of environments set you up for success versus what kind of environments set you up, not necessarily for failure, but for that success to be harder to achieve because it's not conducive to how you're wired. And let's just go really, really, really simple and basic. Let's say that you're an introvert. The environment really matters. If you are sitting by yourself and you're able to clearly think and it's quiet, and you're analytical and you're wired that way. Because if you throw that individual into a really busy coffee shop where people know you, you could achieve the same thing, but understanding how you're wired and then placing yourself in the environment that sets you up for success gives you the ability to access that easier and sets you up for the long run to be able to connect to and achieve that success easier. So that's just one really, really simple example. But personality tests, it's more than just how you're wired. It equips you to be able to then position yourself in the environment that you need to then be successful. On the flip side, it can be, just like my example, it can be what environments actually create challenges. And it's not to necessarily live in hiding from those, but to understand that if you're having a rough day, and as best you can, sometimes it's not possible because of a job environment, etc. But even within that, you have some control. Is to understand, okay, this is not going to be easy over here for me to engage with because of how I'm wired, and I know that. So I'm going to give myself grace today, and I'm not going to be hard on myself if I don't fully show up and perform at the highest level because I know how I'm wired. So that's just the environment itself. Honestly, I'm going to jump in here to some of the comments real quick. So Marcy, you're a step ahead of me. And that is because I said that in the beginning, and you might have missed this, but there are pros and cons of personality tests. And it's just like anything else. It's learning how to find that middle ground, because you're right. The pendulum can swing to one side or the other to an unhealthy degree. And you actually nailed it. I love the engagement here because you guys are stealing all of my points, which I love. I think it's great. But the con, or one of the potential cons, is you let those personality tests put you in a box and limit you more than they should. Or, like you said, Marcy, you actually go to them for understanding in areas that you should go to God for understanding. And I think that speaks to a greater point within all of this, and that is everything we're doing, limiting beliefs, your passions, your strengths, all of that is interwoven with God. But at the same time, solely focusing on those and beginning to navel gaze and just look at yourself rather than look up periodically can put you in a really unhealthy place. So that is a word of caution, and I think I agree with you 100% that you don't want it to replace your God, but I think it is good for you to let it inform you in the way that God has made you. Now, another con in personality tests is if you haven't gotten healing in certain areas of your heart, you could be taking that test out of your pain and out of your past trauma, and it's not accurately describing who you are, but really it's describing where you're at. And let me give you an example. So DISC test is one of those, the test that I'm going to put a link up for you to be able to take if you want. For me, without going into a full DISC test teaching, D is very dominant, and I took it probably about 8 years ago now, and my results were D and then ISC, were almost non-existent. And basically all that was I was in a lot of pain, and then I joined the military, and then I learned how to just unhealthily let my strength become my protector, and I hid in this really strong D. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have D qualities, using this as the example, but after going through a journey of really getting healing and facing some of that pain, I took it again, and it turned out that I was an ID. I still don't have the S or the C. I'm not a detailed person, but by nature, I was more of a people person that had leadership qualities or strong dominant qualities than I was just dominant and bulldozing over everybody. You can ask my wife. I was a bulldozer at one point. And so you have to be aware of where you're at when you're taking some of these tests. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is if you've taken one, let's say 1, 2, 5, 12 years ago, and you go, oh, that was the results and this is who I am, and you embrace that as your identity, then it can actually deter you from fully understanding yourself in a healthy way. And so I would encourage you, if you've already taken some of these tests and it's been more than, say, 9 months to a year, take them again. They may end up being the same. And all that's going to do is reassure you of how you're wired and the strengths that you have. But hopefully, as you continue to grow in loving yourself, in learning how to do relationships, in just self-awareness in general, some of those may change like they did for me. And so DISC is one of them. Another one, I mentioned the Strengths Finder and the high5test.com that some of you went out and you took. I would put that in the same category or same vein. Then you have Myers-Briggs. Myers-Briggs is another one that's really common. And I'm not going to go into the details of all of them just because then we would be on Facebook Live for the next 2.5 hours. This is just to give you something to focus on each day. But you have the Myers-Briggs test, and then you also have the Enneagram. And personally, where I've found a really happy medium is the StrengthsFinder test and then the Enneagram. If you take those two and kind of mesh them together and look at the two, you really get a good pulse of not just how you're wired, but also you on a bad day. So that's one of the strengths of the Enneagram is it says, hey, this is who you are, and this is who you are when you're like firing on all cylinders and you're killing it. And this is who you are when you're having a bad day and you need to let somebody call you out on some of your stuff and get you back to who you need to be. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't taken that one, just to jump in. Again, I'm going to throw the how do you spell an Enneagram, Janet? If I knew that off the top of my head, I'd give it to you, but I don't. Let me throw these links in here. So there you go. ENNEAGRAM. That's how you spell it. But those are the links that you can take, and they'll give you the results. They're free tests. They'll give you the results. And I would encourage you, if you have time today, to just go through the 3 that I put in there and then look at the results. And basically what you're looking for is an overarching theme of your strengths, your weaknesses, who you were meant to be in the sense of you're engaging with your environment and relationships, and then things to be aware of also. And then once you're done with that, or if you already know and you've just recently taken some of these, then throw in the comments, because I'm curious. Like, this is also fun for me because some of you I'm getting to know here locally in Austin, and then some I've known for a while, and some I know just on Facebook. And so put the results that you get, or if you already know them and you've recently taken one of these, put the results that you get in the comments. And I think it's just really fun because a lot of you know each other. And within this process of you getting to know yourself more, we are getting to know you more, and that just makes it better for us to be able to all build relationships, whether it's on Facebook, which I know has its downsides, but it also has its upsides, and or in person. So go ahead, take the tests if you haven't, or if you've taken it in more than a year ago, I would encourage you to take it again just to see where you're at. And then in the comments, throw in there what your results were, and let's do this. Let me know in the comments if any of the results actually surprised you, because sometimes they are surprising. Kara, you've taken the Enneagram. It is very interesting. Now, word of caution with the Enneagram is it can quickly get complex, and so it's good just to take the test, read through the results, and not try to understand necessarily the logic of the entire test, unless that's something that you're really passionate about and you want to explore. But don't get caught up in the details of that one because it has different wings and things like that, where it's you on a good day, you on a bad day, and which is good, which is why I like it, but it can also get somewhat confusing for some people. So don't feel the need to fully understand that one, but I think the results of it are really good to find out with yourself. So that's what we have for today is personality tests. Again, don't let them box you in. Don't let them define who you are. Don't let them replace your journey with God of what He's helping you connect to and discover both in yourself and in your relationship with Him. But do let them help you become a better person by understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, who you should surround yourself with. Maybe it's even in your weaknesses, or who you shouldn't surround yourself with because you're setting yourself up for confrontation that's not necessary. So that's personality test today. I really look forward to finding out what your results are going to be. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can throw your questions in the comments. I'll jump in there and respond as best I can. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.